I won $3 million in the lottery, and my parents told me, you'll give half to your brother or get out of the house. I refused. And the next day, before I could even pack my things, I caught them tearing up my lottery ticket out of pure envy. But instead of crying, I laughed, because that ticket was nothing but a decoy. My name's Daniel, and for as long as I can remember, I've lived in the shadow of my brother, Adrian. It's not something I like admitting, but it's the truth. My parents, Laura and Ricardo, have always had a favorite, and that favorite has never been me. I grew up in a modest house, in a quiet middle-class neighborhood. We always had food on the table and a roof over our heads, but when it came to love and attention, there was no balance. Adrian was the golden child. The perfect son. If he brought home a good grade, my mom would put his report card on the fridge like it was a piece of art. If I brought home the same grade, or even better, I'd just get a quick, well done, before the subject changed. If Adrian wanted a toy, my parents would bend over backward to get it for him. If I asked for something, they told me it wasn't in the budget, or that I needed to learn to earn it myself. And it wasn't just about material things, the favoritism was everywhere. When college came around, there was no hesitation. My parents paid Adrian's tuition in full at a prestigious private university. It's an investment in his future, my dad said, while my mom nodded proudly. Adrian wanted to study business administration, and they already imagined him as the next big entrepreneur in the family. Me? I wanted to study engineering. When I asked for help, my mom shut me down instantly. We can't afford it, Daniel. You'll have to get a scholarship. Her tone made it clear there would be no discussion. So, I worked. I spent my days waiting tables at a restaurant and my nights buried in books, trying to keep my grades up to hold on to the partial scholarship I managed to get. Even with that, it wasn't enough. I had to take out student loans, and the debt piled up. To this day, it weighs on me like a mountain on my back. Meanwhile, Adrian lived a carefree life. His bills were paid, his free time was endless, and he even traveled for fun while I barely had time to sleep. I don't want to sound like I was just resentful, but how can you not feel bitter when your own parents treat you like you're worth less? I confronted them a couple of times. Asked why things were so different. My mom would always say, it's not that we love you less, Daniel. It's just that Adrian needs more support. You're strong. You can handle it. But those words didn't comfort me. They cut deeper. Why did I have to be the strong one? Why didn't I deserve the same love, the same support? Still, I pushed through. I graduated with a degree in engineering, with good grades, but also with a debt that haunted me. I got a junior engineer position at a construction company, but the paycheck barely covered my student loan payments, the rent my parents charged me to live at home, and my basic expenses. Yeah, you read that right. I was still living under their roof. Not because I wanted to, but because I couldn't afford to move out. My parents charged me rent to live at home, something Adrian never once had to pay. You're working now, Daniel. It's only fair that you contribute, they said. Meanwhile, Adrian had already graduated and was still living under their roof without paying a cent. Then came the day Adrian decided he wanted to start his own business. His big idea? An urban clothing store. According to him, it was going to be modern, trendy, the next big thing. And my parents didn't hesitate. They emptied their savings, the same savings that somehow didn't exist when I asked for help with college, and handed it all to him. Money for rent, merchandise, even staff. It's a great opportunity for him, my dad would say proudly. Adrian has vision. He's going to go far. I stayed quiet, but inside I was boiling. Adrian had no business plan, no real experience, and it was obvious his vision was nothing more than a whim. A year earlier, I had come to them with my own dream, to start a small engineering consulting firm. Something solid, something that could grow. I didn't even ask for much, less than what they spent on Adrian's vacations. Their answer was a flat-out no. We don't see a future in that, my mom told me. Too risky, Daniel. Better stick with your job. That refusal hurt more than I can explain. Not just because of the money, but because they didn't even take the time to listen to me. To them, my dreams weren't worth anything. Meanwhile, I had one habit I admit wasn't the smartest. Every week, I bought a lottery ticket. It started as a silly routine, just a way to let myself dream. Spending a few dollars for the chance, however small, that maybe one day luck would smile on me. My parents and Adrian mocked me constantly. "You're throwing your money away, Daniel," Adrian laughed. "The lottery is for losers." I never answered. I just kept buying my tickets, tucking them away in a drawer, and moving on with my life. Months passed. As I expected, Adrian's business started to collapse. He spent more than he earned, hired friends who knew nothing about running a store, and made reckless decisions. Debts piled up. My parents, who had invested everything into him, began to panic. And me? I just kept working, drowning in student debt, paying the rent they charged me, carrying my own burdens while nobody asked how I was doing or if I needed help. Then everything changed. It was a Friday night. Like always, I stopped at the corner store and picked up a lottery ticket. I didn't expect anything. It was just habit. Later that night, I sat in my room, turned on the TV, and watched the drawing. The numbers came out one by one: 7, 14, 23, 42. I froze. Those were my numbers. I checked my ticket again, carefully comparing each one. Then I checked again. And again. My heart was racing, my hands shaking, but there was no mistake. I had just won $3 million. I didn't scream. I didn't jump. I didn't even smile at first. I just sat there staring at the ticket, overwhelmed with disbelief and euphoria. For the first time in my life, I felt like I had power. Like I was finally in control. But I also knew one thing for sure: I couldn't tell my parents or Adrian. Not yet. They couldn't be trusted. Not until the money was safe in my account. The very next morning, I went to the lottery office. They checked and validated the ticket. It was real. They congratulated me, explained that the payment would arrive in my bank account within 15 to 30 days, and even handed me one of those oversized ceremonial checks with my name on it: Daniel, $3 million. We even did a little photo shoot. And in that moment, I wasn't just holding a check. I was holding freedom. I smiled for the cameras, then walked home with that giant check tucked under my arm, still trying to process what had just happened. When I stepped into the living room, my parents and Adrian were sitting together. The moment they saw the oversized check, their eyes nearly popped out of their heads. "What is that, Daniel?" my mom asked, her voice trembling with suspicion. I paused, knowing the next words would change everything. "I won the lottery," I said, keeping my voice steady. $3 million. The silence that followed was suffocating. Then Adrian gave a shaky laugh. "You're joking, right?" But I wasn't. I lifted the check and said, "It's real." And that was when the storm hit. My mom's voice was the first to cut through the room. "Daniel, this is a blessing for the family. You have to share it with us. Adrian needs that money. His business is in trouble. If you give him half, he can save it." Half. She didn't even hesitate. Adrian nodded, acting like it was the most natural thing in the world. "Yeah, Daniel, it's only fair. We're family. You can't just keep all that for yourself." I almost laughed in his face but held it in. "Fair?" I repeated slowly, staring at them. "Since when do you care about fair? You never helped me with anything. You didn't pay for my college. You let me drown in debt. You wouldn't give me a dime for my business idea, but Adrian got everything he asked for. And now that I win something on my own, you want half? No. Not a chance." The air turned heavy. My dad, who had been silent until then, stepped forward. "Daniel, don't be selfish. If you don't give half to your brother, you're leaving this house. We don't want ungrateful people here." Somehow, I kept my composure. "Perfect," I said coldly. "I'll leave. And don't worry, I don't plan on talking to you again. You never supported me, never believed in me. Now that I finally have something, suddenly I'm family again. No thanks. The shouting match that followed was chaos. I threw everything in their faces: how they paid Adrian's tuition while I worked myself to exhaustion, how they gave him their savings for a failing business, how they charged me rent while he lived here for free. It was always him, wasn't it? I yelled. Adrian was always the one who mattered. And me? I was just the one who had to be strong. Well, I managed on my own, and I'm not sharing it with you. My mom tried to cut me off, saying I was exaggerating, that they only wanted what was best for the family. Adrian sneered and called me jealous. Said I'd always been envious of him. I didn't bother answering. It wasn't worth it. I stormed up to my room, set the giant check on my desk, and locked the door. I knew I wasn't staying another day in that house. The next morning, I woke up early to start looking for an apartment. But when I went to grab the check, it was gone. My stomach dropped. I rushed downstairs, and froze. There they were, my parents and Adrian, sitting around the dining room table. The oversized check was in pieces, ripped apart, shredded into strips, some crumpled into balls. My mom held one piece, Adrian had a pair of scissors in his hand, and my dad stared at me with a cold, challenging look. "We warned you, Daniel," my mom said flatly. "Since you refused to share, we decided to tear up your check. Now you have nothing." Adrian waved the scissors in the air like a trophy. "What are you gonna do without your little money now?" he taunted, his voice dripping with envy. For a moment, panic surged through me. Then something unexpected bubbled up inside. A laugh. At first small, then unstoppable. I doubled over, laughing so hard I could barely breathe. They stared at me like I had lost my mind. "What are you laughing at?" My dad growled, his face dark with anger. "Do you think this is funny?" I laughed harder. I couldn't stop. Tears rolled down my cheeks, and I had to lean against the wall to keep from falling over. Adrian's smug grin turned into confusion, and my parents exchanged worried looks, as if they couldn't figure out what was happening. "Why are you laughing?" my mom shrieked, tossing down the piece of cardboard in her hand. "We just destroyed your prize. Don't you get it? You're not going to collect anything now." I wiped the tears from my eyes, still shaking with laughter, and pointed to the scraps of cardboard scattered across the table. "That check. That check is worthless. It's just a prop they gave me for the photos. A piece of cardboard. The real money is already being processed and will be in my account in less than 15 days. Did you seriously think you could ruin me by tearing up a piece of paper?" The silence that followed was beautiful. They all went pale, like the life had been sucked out of them. Adrian dropped the scissors, my dad opened his mouth but nothing came out, and my mom was the first to stammer a reply. "Daniel, that was just a joke. We didn't mean it. We only wanted to teach you a lesson." "A lesson?" My laughter stopped, and a fire rose in my chest. I took a step closer. "What kind of lesson?" "That I've never meant anything to you. That the only one who matters is Adrian and his failing business." "No, Mom. That wasn't a lesson. That was cruelty. That was pure spite. And you know what? I don't care anymore. I'm leaving this house, and I'm never looking back." Adrian jumped to his feet, panic written across his face. "Daniel, wait. Don't take it like that. We're family. You know my business is struggling. If you just give me some of that money, I can turn it around. Don't be selfish, man." "Selfish?" I spat, my whole body trembling with rage. "I'm selfish? After you let me drown in student loans while you lived here rent-free? After Mom and Dad gave you everything and left me scraps? No, Adrian. I don't owe you a thing. Not you, not them." My dad finally spoke, his voice cold and commanding. "Daniel, calm down. We're your parents, and Adrian is your brother. You can't turn your back on family. That money is a blessing, and you have to share it." "Not for you," I shot back. "It's my blessing. I bought the ticket. I won. You used to laugh at me, remember? You called me a loser, said I was wasting money. Well, look who's laughing now. I didn't give them a chance to answer. I went upstairs, grabbed my backpack, and started shoving in clothes, my laptop, and a few important documents. I didn't need much. I had lived with the bare minimum all my life. I heard footsteps on the stairs. My mom walked in without knocking, her eyes red and glassy. "Daniel, please," she begged. "Don't do this. We're your family. You can't just walk away. Let's talk. We can fix this." "There's nothing to fix," I said without looking at her. "You made it clear who you are. It was always Adrian. Always. When I needed help for college, you turned your backs on me. When I wanted to start a business, you told me it wasn't worth it. But now that I have money, suddenly I matter." "No, Mom. This is over." I pushed past her, walked down the stairs, and crossed the living room without so much as glancing at my dad or Adrian. I heard my mom shouting from upstairs, calling me ungrateful, saying I couldn't treat them like this. Adrian yelled something too, but I didn't care enough to listen. I opened the front door, stepped outside, and felt the cool air hit my face. For the first time in years, I could breathe. The days that followed dragged on endlessly as I waited for the lottery money to arrive. Every morning I checked my bank account, hoping to see the deposit. In the meantime, I settled into my new place. I bought a mattress, a small table, and a few basics. I did not need much. For the first time, I had a space that was mine, no one telling me how to live or what to do. Then one day an email from the lottery arrived, the deposit had been processed. I opened my account and there it was, a number with more zeros than I had ever seen. I stared at the screen, a rush of relief and excitement washing over me. I did it. I was free. The first thing I did was pay off my student loans. Watching that balance drop to zero felt like someone lifted a mountain off my back. After that, I bought a few things I had always wanted, a good television, a comfortable couch, a new laptop. Nothing flashy. Just things that made life easier. I did not want attention. I did not want anyone to know I was a millionaire. I had heard too many stories about winners who blew everything. I was not going to be one of them. But my parents and Adrian did not let up. A few days after I moved out, my mom called. I did not answer, but she left a voicemail. "Daniel, please, we need to talk. Adrian's store is about to close. If we do not get money, it will go bankrupt. You can help him. Do not turn your back on us." I listened. Then I deleted it. Next came a text from Adrian. "Bro, do not be like that. I know you are mad, but I am family. Help me. I am begging you." I ignored that too. A week later my dad called. This time I picked up, more out of curiosity than anything else. He tried to sound calm. "Daniel, things got out of hand. You cannot leave your brother on the street. His business is all he has. If you do not help, he will lose everything." "And what about me, Dad?" I said. "What about everything I lost because of you? The years I worked myself to the bone, the times you made me feel small." "No. Adrian had his shot. He wasted it. Now he can face the consequences." "You are ungrateful," he snapped and hung up. I was not surprised. Same story as always, if I did not do what they wanted, I was the villain. This time I did not care. I was done chasing their approval. I blocked their numbers and deleted every message. It was not easy, some part of me still felt the guilt they tried to pin on me, but I remembered their words and actions. I knew I was doing the right thing. I owed them nothing. Now I walk through my apartment, look out the window, and feel something I have never felt before: freedom. It is not just the money. It is knowing I do not need their permission to live my life. I am enough. The anger is gone, in its place is peace. They gambled on Adrian and lost. I bet on myself, and won. There is no going back.